Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day for checking out my podcast. I promise you won't be disappointed. Now, normally on my podcast, I like to go over 4 different subjects week in and week out. The first being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon, where basically it's my power rankings. Another segment is a segment I like to call What's New, where basically I'm talking about NBA news or I'm ranting about something. Another segment that I like to go over is Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about games that I really enjoyed watching, games that I'm looking forward to, or games that have some type of significance. And then the last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. And in the Lab, I'm talking about high school, college, or international basketball or NBA rookies. Today is actually our last episode. I probably won't do any more episodes about this NBA season. So today will be our last episode for this NBA season. We'll talk about the finals towards the end of the episode. But I did want to start off my episode today and kind of talk a little bit about some high school players a little bit. So most recently, this happened a couple days ago, was the Adidas Euro Camp. Now, at this camp, basically, there's a couple European select teams, and there's also a couple American select teams. And I just wanted to give some love to the MVP. His name is Caleb Holt. He's a 6'5". He's about 6'5" with about a 6'9" wingspan. He's the number, I believe, 7th rated player in class of 2026. So he'll be a senior going into this fall. But he's second ranked at his position. He's the second best shooting guard at his position. But I just wanted to give him some love because he won MVP at the tournament. From my eyes and what I watched, he was the best overall player at this tournament. And it wasn't really even that close in my opinion. During the tournament, he averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2.5 turnovers. He shot 52% from the field, 36.5% from three, and he shot 100% from the free throw line with only 2 attempts per game, so very low. And first game, he didn't even take any free throws. The last 2 games, they only played 3 games. Mind you guys, only played 3 games, but yeah, his team won the tournament. So I wanted to give him a little bit of love. But I also wanted to talk about the Nike Hoop Summit a little bit. So this took place about, I think it was April 12th. I ended up going to it. I think it was April 12th was the exact date. But I didn't even get a chance to come on here and talk to you guys about what I liked from the Nike Hoop Summit and stuff. So I was thinking about that. I was like, wait, I didn't give me a chance to even talk to you guys about it. But I did take notes during the event. So I kind of wanted to talk about that very briefly. And then we'll talk about the NBA Finals. And then also at the end of it, after we talk about the finals, I'll kind of give you guys a roadmap on what the next month and a half is going to look like on the pod. So at the Nike Hoop Summit, I wanted to give some love to a couple of players and just things that I kind of noticed. First and foremost, the most eye-popping thing to me was that Cameron Boozer was the best overall player on the floor, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he was doing everything: scoring, rebounding, assisting, defending. He was doing everything. He was by far the best overall player on the floor. The best scorer on the floor was A.J. DeBontis on the USA team. A.J. DeBontis was the best scorer on the team. But overall, Cameron Boozer was the best player. I also wanted to give some love to Sean Abevy. I talked about him last summer on the pod. And this fall, he'll be going to Cincinnati. But I really liked him last summer when I kind of discovered him at the camps, at some of the high school camps I was watching. But yeah, he really stood out too during this game. Just a scorer, man. Just a polished left-hand scorer. Kind of gets to his spots, rises up. Obviously needs to put some weight on. Pretty skinny guy, but I like Sean Abevy. He's going to be a fun watch at Cincinnati. So if you guys don't watch Bearcats basketball, which I don't, but I will be watching it just to see what he does this fall. Another player on the Team USA that I had no idea who he was. His name is Trey McKinney. Trey McKinney. I think he's 6'4". I think he's about 6'4", 6'5". He's going to Michigan. Just a tank. This dude is built like an NFL running back, fullback. Like he's a very physically imposing kid. I'm looking forward to watching him at Michigan because he was somebody that kind of just popped to me. I didn't know who he was. I was like, whoa, like this kid's. He just stood out to me on the court, with his physicality, his downhill ability, his shooting touch. He's going to be a fun watch and somebody I will be watching closely at Michigan. And when I do my college episode before the college basketball season, normally I do a top 20 or 30 players who I'm going to keep my eyes out for. He will be on that list for me for sure now. I had no idea who he was. But then I want to talk about a couple players on the world team. First being Tajay Ariza, which is Trevor Ariza's son. Tajay Ariza is in class of 2026 as well. I think he's rated I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's rated the number 4 player in class of 26. He's a really good. I think he was playing. He was under the. I didn't know he was Japanese, but yeah. So maybe his mom is Japanese, I'm assuming. But yeah, so he really stood out to me too on the Worlds team. I've known of Taja Ariza. I think I've talked about him actually last summer too on the pod. I knew about him, but he was somebody. He just was playing with a very high motor, very passionate player. I'm looking forward to watching his game his senior year. I'm looking forward to it and watching whatever college he goes to. And then the last player that I thought was the best player on the international on Team World was Tunde Yesufu. To me, he was the best player on the team. He was looking to kill every possession. And I loved it. I loved watching it because he was not looking to pass that ball, and he was getting to his spots. Had a really nice mid-range game. Very stocky dude. He's kind of built a little bit like Anthony Edwards, a little bigger, like physically bigger than Anthony Edwards, but very similar built to Anthony Edwards. But Tunde, I'm looking forward to watching him at Baylor. I've talked about him on the pod before too, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the Nike Hoops I'm with you guys because I didn't get a chance to talk about it when it actually happened. I think I just got sidetracked and was so in tune into the NBA season at the time. But also I kind of want to talk about, before we go into the NBA finals as well, I want to talk about the NBA draft a little bit, just very, very briefly, because before the NBA draft, I will do a pre-draft episode. Last summer, that was my very first episode I ever did on the pod, was a pre-draft episode. Audio quality and video quality are not that good, but I had some really good talking points in that. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in that. But yeah, this year, it'll be the same thing. Like I said, today will be my last episode for the NBA for this season. So the next time you see me will be in about 2 weeks, right before the NBA draft. I'll do a pre-draft episode. We'll go over players that we're going to talk about my top 15 big board. We'll talk about some potential second round, late first rounders, some of my draft sleepers as well. And then after the pre-draft episode, that next couple days after the draft, I'll do like kind of a summary and a recap of the NBA draft. But I kind of just want to throw this at you guys before stuff really starts happening, because obviously I told you guys about 2.5 months ago, I told you guys, hey, I think this offseason is going to be nuts. I put that on the pod. And since I've said it, I've noticed a lot more people all of a sudden have started to say it, which is nor here nor there. Just saying, I said it. I put it on the record before I've seen anybody else do it. But anyways, pertaining to the draft, there's a couple teams that I kind of just wanted to just throw at you guys, and a couple of things that I'm going to be paying attention to as we get closer to the draft and as we go into the draft. But as well, in my pre-draft episode, I also will be letting you guys, I will reiterate what I'm about to tell you guys, but I just wanted to put it out there now. So when we get there again, it's not like, oh, this is new information. No, this is stuff that I've been thinking about and that I just wanted to put out to you guys. So one thing is that I think the Atlanta Hawks will for sure draft a point guard. Trae Young, and we talked about Trae Young last summer. I talked to you guys about him. But he has a player option after this year. So I think it would be kind of foolish not to see Atlanta draft a point guard, basically for insurance for Trae Young, because they got Dyson Daniels, they got Rishi, they got Jalen Johnson, they got Okongwu. They got a pretty good young team, very athletic, very switchable with all those other players. They obviously need a point guard. I don't know. Like I said, unless Trae Young's going to extend with them, but I wouldn't bank on that. I think they're going to draft a point guard in this draft. So look for players like Jace Richardson. Maybe they really like Ben Saraf. I would say Igor Demin is another player I would look out for in that range for them. We'll see if Yakachonis, if he ends up falling that low. But yeah, I think or maybe they like Walter Clayton a lot. But yeah, I think Atlanta is going to take a point guard. And then teams, obviously, to watch out for with Trae Young. Well, I've already talked about it to you guys, but I'll just say it again. I think Orlando is I think one of those teams. I think Miami's a sneaky team. And I think maybe Houston as well. I know Houston that's kind of a dark horse. It's kind of Houston, but maybe Houston, maybe they'll look to, package Fred VanVleet, and maybe they think Kevin Durant's too expensive or don't want to, bank on somebody that old. So I'll throw Houston on there for him as well. But yeah, I think they're for sure in the market for a point guard. Another team that I want to talk about is Chicago. Chicago has the, I believe, 12th pick in the draft. And I think Chicago should and will be looking out to draft some defense. I was talking to somebody online. I told them I thought Colin Murray Boyles would be a really good fit with Buzelis, with Josh Giddey, and with Kobe White. That's somebody I think I like Colin Murray for that team. I still think they should draft defense if it's not him, but I really like him for them. Also, another thing is that I think somebody will take the bait because I heard that the Brooklyn Nets want to move up in the draft to try to get 2 lottery picks. They got picks 19, 26, and 27 left that they can trade. So I can see in a world where somebody in that late lottery, if that's Portland, if that's Chicago, Sacramento, Atlanta, I can see one of those, or the Spurs, I can see one of those teams basically saying, we think this draft is, deep enough to where we can grab a couple other players in the back end. Let's get off this lottery pick. So I think somebody will take that Brooklyn Nets bait and take all 3 of those picks and give up their lottery pick. I think Portland should do it. Personally, I think it'll be a good idea for them to do it. I think it'd be a good idea even for a team like Chicago to do it. I think that could be a good idea. Even the Spurs, if the Spurs want to rebuild their second unit, I think that could be a good idea for them as well. But so just something I want to throw out to you guys was I think somebody will eventually take that Brooklyn Nets bait, and I don't think it's bad. I don't think those are bad picks at all. Another team like OKC has really good picks too. They have picks 14 and 24, I believe. But the thing with OKC is what's really interesting is that you have Jalen Williams, the one that goes to Arkansas, that went to Arkansas. That's their center, and then you got what's his name, AJ Mitchell. Both of those players. I think both of those players have team options this summer, if I remember correct. I don't have it in front of me. This right now is just me off my head. But I think both of those players have team options this summer. So does OKC look at those 2 players and say, okay, we can pick up their team options and then fill their voids next summer? Or do they use their 2 draft picks to basically replenish those 2 players and basically try to work out a sign and trade for those 2 players and send them elsewhere? Or do they just decline their team options and let them walk? I'm interested to see what happens with OKC, what they do with those 2 picks. Because in theory, they already have 15 players on their roster if they bring those 2 dudes back. So they won't be able to draft these 2 dudes. They would have to cut somebody. So I'm interested. I'm just interested to see what happens with OKC because something's got to give there. Another team is the Orlando Magic. A lot of people are not talking. Orlando has 2 first-round picks in this draft as well. They have picks 16 and 25. What do they do with those picks? Do they liquidate those picks and try to consolidate and move up? Or do they draft these 2 players? I'm interested to see what the Magic does with their 2 picks too. I know Orlando wants to get into, adding some more pieces around the NBA is what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, that Orlando is going to be trying to, go out there and try to acquire somebody. So I'm interested to see what they do with those 2 picks. Do they move those 2 picks for Anthony Simons, who's, been linked to the Magic all season long? I talked about that last summer, that I felt that Orlando was in a prime position to go get Anthony Simons, and I've been saying that they should, and Portland should get up off him. So I'm interested to see what they do with pick 16 and 25. Do they call Portland and be like, hey, we'll offer you 16, 25, and let's say, I don't know. I think Portland should really want Anthony Black, but I don't know if the Magic would be for that. But do you give Portland picks 16 and 25, and then you give them, I don't know, maybe, Cole Anthony or somebody, or Jonathan Isaac or somebody, I don't know. Just something to pay attention to is Orlando's picks as well. They have 2 first-round picks. So that's what I kind of want to talk to you guys briefly, but we'll talk about the NBA Finals now a little bit. If you guys have been following me, for most of the season, OKC was my number 1 rated team in my power rankings. And probably for most of you guys as well, they probably were. But before the playoffs started, I came on here. I gave you guys a big spill on, I believe that was going to be OKC versus Boston in the finals. And I believe that OKC was going to beat them in the finals. In my preseason episode last summer, I as well had OKC versus Boston, or I had Boston versus Denver. But yeah, so I've been on this OKC thing since last summer. Nothing's changed. Hats off to Indiana for getting through the East, even though, they got bailed out in the first round with the injuries for Milwaukee, and then obviously the injuries with Cleveland. And then they beat a New York team that I think just wasn't right anyways. They were beefing with Tibbs during the season. Offensively, they were just very isolated. I think there's just a lot of tension and stuff in that New York locker room. But still, that doesn't take away from what Indiana did accomplish. But it is important to read the book, and not just focus on the headline, Indiana gets to the finals. It's important to read the details and understand what happened. But still, good for them making it to the finals. I still believe Oklahoma City I think Oklahoma City is actually built to slow down a team like the Pacers, very much so. I mean, they have literally the perimeter defenders to match up with Indiana's perimeter offense. And then on the other end, I don't think Aaron Nesmith or Nembhard's going to be able to stop Shea. I do believe Shea is going to average between 32 and 35 points in this series pretty efficiently too as well. And he'll win Finals MVP. But yeah, there's nothing that's got me worried at all. I think Jalen Williams matching up with Siakam. I think Siakam's not going to have his way with Jalen Williams. I think Jalen Williams will be able to step up, even though he's young, even though Siakam's a champion. I get that. But I just think this Thunder team is ready. I think they're ready, and I told you guys this before the playoffs started. I believe that they were the best team, and everything I've told you guys about them has happened. I told you guys I believe that they would lead with their defense, and that there were a bunch of piranhas, and I told you guys that I felt that their rotational players would step up in this playoffs and they would shine, and that's exactly what's happened. So yeah, I'm not gonna move. I have unwavering faith in what I've told you guys. And truth be told, if I'm just being honest with you guys, I personally haven't been really paying much. I've really just been focused on getting ready for the draft. Truth be told, I haven't watched any shows or anything, because to me, like I said, it's set and done. I think OKC is gonna win the title, and if I'm wrong, then I'll come on here and I'll tell you guys I was wrong, and then I will reevaluate, look myself in the mirror, and kind of just change, and look at the things that I use to decide my, predictions and stuff, because I use certain things that I like to look at to determine what's going to happen. But I feel pretty confident. OKC is going to beat them. I think they're going to beat them in 6. I do think either 5 or 6. I would say 5 or 6. I think Siakam. So I tell you guys all this. I tell you guys this all the time, and I said at the beginning of the playoffs, and I'll say it again. I believe in the playoffs. I believe role players, all-stars, and all NBA players can win you games within the playoffs. But I think your all NBA, your superstars, those are the players that's going to win you series. So I do think Halliburton's an all NBA player. Siakam is a fringe all NBA / all-star player. I think they're good enough to get you a game. And then I think their others is good enough to get you a game as well. So that's why I gave them 2 games out of respect for them, but also just based on their team. But if they get swept, I would be surprised, because I do think Siakam and them are at least good enough to get you one, So, but yeah, that's what I think about the NBA Finals. But I want to let you guys know what these next, couple months are going to look like on my pod moving forward. So basically what's going to happen is, after today's episode, next time you guys see me will be right before the NBA draft. We'll do a pre-draft episode. And then a couple of days after the NBA draft, we'll do a post-draft episode. And then after that, it'll basically be the start of free agency. Now, what I did last year, and I think I'm going to do again this year, is during free agency, I'm not going to be making a bunch of episodes, just because I don't want to. I just feel like there's too much he say, she say in free agency, and I don't want to come on here and just be throwing a bunch of random stuff at you guys. So I'd rather wait until stuff is pretty much concrete. So what I'll do, unless something major happens, like if some crazy blockbuster trade happens that we just came out of left field, like some Luka type stuff, then okay, I'll make an episode. But for most part, what's going to happen is free agency will start. I'll probably wait about 2 weeks after free agency starts, and then I'll make an episode, because also during that time, the FIBA U tournament will have been started. The Peach Jam would have started. So when I come on next, it'll basically be me talking about NBA free agency, and also talking about high school and international basketball is what will be happening during just like last summer. Literally, if you guys are wondering what the blueprint is for this summer for my pod, you literally can just go ahead and literally just go all the way back to my last summer episodes, and you can just read the titles if you don't want to watch the episodes. I would highly recommend watching episode 5, my FIBA episode. I would highly recommend watching that one. But anyways, that's what's going to happen. During this summer, basically what I like to do during the summer is from, I would say, about end of June to about all of August is when I talk about I'll talk about the draft. I'll talk about high school, kids that are going to be seniors in high school. I'll talk about some of the kids that are going into college. And then I talk about international. The summer is mainly for NBA. It's basically just a big 2.5 months of just in the lab, where I'm talking about high school, international, and college basketball is literally what my summer entails. And then end of August and going into September, then we'll do our season previews for all the teams. So, and I want to let you guys know as well that I'm still working on something in the backdrop. And as soon as I get it fixed and understood and how I want it to operate, then I will come on and let you guys know the announcement. I'm hoping to be able to announce it to you guys sometime in July once I have everything else wrinkled out for it. But yeah, I got something coming for you guys, and I think you guys will really like it. But otherwise, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your day for checking out my podcast. And PJ is out.